what would you categorize or what would you define as the code of conduct for an architect and his profession, her profession, and what would you kind of say uh, debate under the idea of ethics where the architectural profession is concerned. Yeah. So though the Council of Architecture sets um, sets, I wouldn't say they're norms, but there's certain kind of guidelines that are recommended for a practitioner to follow in terms of code of conduct and ethics. Uh, that that has seen a whole lot of transformation over the years, over the way the practices work, and this ideation of practice, right? Because the way that you work itself has transformed magnanimously since the time that we actually started off with a conventional or that mode of practice. So this topic is actually open to debate. So while I give you the guidelines today, while I mention the kind of recommendations that the council makes, the next class is going to be devoted to a debate, and you guys will have to prepare. So I think we can have uh, two sets of debate. So one, pick up your topic. Okay, I wouldn't say we should do the central vista or something like that, but you can bring in your own kind of idea about it. I was thinking of slum rehabilitation as you know as ethical or non-ethical. Can we debate on that? But we can see that at the end of the class we'll discuss, right? So we will have maybe two sets of debates, so two classes, where you all will divide yourselves into four groups. The first two will carry out the debate or will debate against each other on one topic, and the next two will debate against each other on the next topic. Yeah, so I would like you to do that quite formally in the sense that you will have to appoint two or three speakers from each of the group who will present their case, two or four or whatever it is, and then we will open the floor for debate. I would encourage all of you at that point of time to turn your cameras on and unleash yourselves, so to speak. Okay. Uh, Without that, we're never going to be able to understand this idea of ethics and code of conduct. And this term and this idea is going to keep cropping up every time we discuss a new topic within the course itself. If you're going to look at professional practice in terms of drawing up a tender, if you're going to look at professional practice in terms of signing a contract, then where does ethics come into it? Where does code of conduct come into it? If you're talking about a partnership kind of firm, if you're talking about a joint venture, where does ethics come into all of it? What is the code of conduct that you need to have in that kind of a relationship? So, ethics and code of conduct is not a topic which you just talk about, discuss, and get over with. That's not going to happen. That's going to stay with you for the rest of your life, right? So, for example, if you're looking at writing as a profession in architecture, if I don't give, like we keep telling you in your thesis projects or in whatever your research project, if you don't give the citation, if you don't give me a reference as to where you're taking your information from, is also a misconduct and is also unethical. You have to mention where that reference is coming from, correct? So it's a highly, like I mentioned, it's a highly debatable topic, and I think we should enjoy that kind of back and forth as to this topic is where this topic is concerned. So today you can see my screen. I'll quickly run you through the recommendations, whatever the council is sort of talking about, right? So what does second? Where's my pointer? Yeah. What do we mean when we say code of conduct? We are answerable to the client, okay, the other architects, maybe whoever's involved in the project, but we are also answerable to the society. I'm not going to now read this out. What you have to understand here is that by a code of conduct, I am not saying that I need to start my project on time. I have to finish my project on time. I don't cheat the client. I don't do this. ऐसा नहीं है. When I mean code of conduct and when I mean ethics, I mean that I am definitely answerable to the profession, to my fellow architects, and to society as well. So it's not just to the profession. Otherwise, the idea that comes about when you listen to this term or you hear this term or use this term is that is the fact that you're answerable to the profession. That's not the case. You're also answerable to each other, correct? Within your profession. As an architect, I'm answerable to you. You're answerable to me, okay? With whatever work you do or how you go about doing it, right? And definitely I'm answerable to the society. So we'll see a couple of articles after this, after we finish this presentation. Okay. So architect and society. This is now, I think, of prime importance in today's time because we have to look at the environment as well as society. Correct. We cannot have the architecture profession or the building profession, so to speak, be detrimental to the environment. Right. Yes, we are going to look at representing the economic development of the country, but then where do you draw the line? Can you tell me of one example which is under conflict, especially where Mumbai city is concerned, where you're trying to look at the development of the country on one hand, but you feel that environmentally it's going to be detrimental, and then you start protesting and you don't want that construction activity to take place. Can you give me one example?
The metro car shed thing.
Yes, okay. That the coastal road, correct? So on one hand, they mention that I mean, by the government mentions that it is of prime importance that we have a coastal road, which encourages this kind of development of the city because we're looking at segregating the traffic, we're looking at easing the congestion, etc. But on the other hand, we very well know as responsible architects and citizens that there is going to be damage to the environment and the ecology when we look at construction of the coastal road. Yeah. Now let's look at our teaching as practice. Correct. If I am not uh, if I'm not contributing, let's say, towards increasing the standards of education, right? If I'm uh, not sort of involving myself in self development. If I don't learn, if I don't undertake research, if I don't read, what am I going to contribute year after year? Correct? I cannot be repeating this same lecture year after year. Otherwise, I would have just prepared pre-recorded lectures and run them for you. Correct? I'm not running last time's presentation for you, the recording, maybe the PPT, but not the recording, right? And every time we try to bring in these kind of new exercises, which looks at practice from a different lens or looks at practice in a maybe a more knowledgeable way, because based on what I have experienced in the previous year, what I have read up in the previous year, what is the kind of research that I have undertaken in the previous year. So that is my responsibility as a teacher in architecture. It is my duty to be able to uh, sort of improve on what I'm teaching or what I'm disseminating to you. Correct? Then there is need to articulate and advocate ethical standards. This is very critical, I agree, but also it's very debatable because what I probably would feel uh, is ethical may not be sort of uh, may not be agreeable by someone else. Correct? Someone else might not feel that uh, something is unethical. Well, I would strongly feel that, this is not the way to do it. Correct? For example, the coastal road. I might say, like, that in college, Shweta has been against construction of the coastal road, and she has brought out the kind of proof, right? So that means she's undertaken that research, she's visited the place, she's brought out these different kind of uh, organisms that survive at the coast, and they are a species which are endangered, and she knows that if you construct this coastal road, you're going to lose out on these. So she's done her homework very well, right? On the other hand, I would probably, I mean, I will not do that, but I'm just saying I could say that it's ridiculous to be traveling through hours and hours of traffic. And I think it is essential to have that coastal road without taking into consideration the fact that that coastal road is going to cater to only 7% of the population. It's not actually serving the purpose. Okay. So then there are different stands that different people might want to take. Okay. So by so that's highly debatable, correct? Highly debatable. So where do you draw that line? What do you define as ethical? What do you advocate for is very important. Again, there are, though in contracts and in the arbitration and in the tenders, they're all legally backed, right? The whole contract document that I draw up is in legal terminology, which is very painful to go through during a PP class because you really don't want to go through that kind of language, right? Uh, Especially when you're enjoying design, you're enjoying technology, and then you suddenly have to sit and read through all this text, which you really can't make head or tail of because of the way that the text has been formulated. But that text is going to give you that legal backing and strength to make good your document in court in case there is an issue. Correct? So it is very important. Now, there itself, if I am going to look at loopholes, if I'm going to look at a way to go about or go around the legal system and then carry out some construction, that becomes unethical. Correct? So, again, I need to understand as a responsible architect, should I be getting into that kind of thing or no? Whatever I do, I'm going to do for my client. So, there is a possibility that there's pressure from the side of the client, correct? But yes, you have to check what is it that you're getting. General obligations, I think I just discussed all of this, submitting bids or quotations where lowest price has preference. You know, generally, I think you have an idea. When we call for tenders, we are definitely looking at finally what's the price, uh, what the uh, what's the price that has been quoted by the contractor. If I find that the contractor has quoted 3 lakh 3 crore 50 lakhs, while someone else has quoted me 3 crore 42 lakhs, I'm definitely going to choose the guy who's low. But to bring down that price from 3 crore 50 to 3 crore 42, if the contractor has carried out some miscalculation, on purpose, intentionally, so that the total just looks low, or if he has underquoted for certain kind of items in that contract just so that he gets the contract, that's again unethical, correct? So that is something which you need to keep in mind. So technically, you need to look at all these points which are there on your screen now. Okay, providing discounts, providing free services, right? If you will find a whole lot of instances where you feel that a project has gone out of your hand because someone has quoted fees that are less than the ones that you have quoted. So though we saw the stages of fees, right, and the payment last time, as to what the council recommends. There are architects who underquote, right? Or any other profession also, they might underquote. Even I would probably choose if I have to get a building contractor and if I have to get the formwork done. And if someone is going to quote me less than the other guy, probably would go to him, right? But when it comes to a profession like architecture, it is understood, or it is, I think, I don't know what is the word to use. It it should go without question that nobody underquotes. If the council is saying for an urban level project, the fees that you charge are 1.5% of that entire cost of construction, then that is what everybody should quote, correct? Why should I quote just 1%? If for an architectural project it is 7% of fees, then everyone must quote 7%. If it's a landscape project or if it's an interior project and you're doing 15% of the cost of construction, maybe 20% if you're carrying out site supervision, then that is exactly what everyone must quote. Did you understand? Did you understand? So that is something which should not even be a question to ponder on. This is it. This is what the council recommends, and this is exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, be up to date. We just discussed all this. Whatever mode of practice you want to get into, you have to improve your knowledge. You must be undertaking uh, either research or reading or more of practice to be able to improve your knowledge. Okay, goes without saying that you're trying to raise that. Now, aesthetic excellence is not something that I can define definitely. So maybe this is something which you guys could discuss amongst yourself or discuss it in your theory classes or something like that. I'm not sure we should discuss what aesthetic excellence is, but excellence in terms of carrying out the project in the sense that you uh, either you're efficient in carrying it out or you're effective in carrying out, or the way that you do it, right? Do you do it efficiently or do you carry it out effectively? So, what is the difference? I think we have discussed this. There's a huge difference between doing something efficiently and doing it effectively. If I'm just doing some run of the mill thing efficiently कि ठीक है 4 दिन में मैंने ये काम खत्म किया, नेक्स्ट 6 दिन में मैंने ये खत्म किया, नेक्स्ट 10 days में मैंने ये खत्म किया, that's not enough. You also have to be effective in what you are doing. Okay. Respect and help conserve natural and cultural heritage. That is something which is so broad that you really don't understand how to even start looking at this question. Correct? Do you think Central Vista comes under heritage? Do you think deforestation is an issue because you are not conserving your natural heritage? What is it? So does that mean that I can't carry out development at all? I cannot build at all? What does that mean? Okay. And uphold human rights in all professional endeavors. Now, this is where I feel that when you create an environment which is detrimental to to the quality of life of the people there, that itself is a problem, right? It's a human right to have a place to live. I agree. But अगर तुम उनको इतना बदतर जगह दे रहे हो, you're giving them such a poor kind of quality of life, you don't have it's not the right anymore, right? You're actually punishing the person instead of giving him his right. Yeah? Obligation to the public. Do not discriminate in professional activities on the basis of race, religion, gender. I don't need to get into this. Do not violate the law, gift or bribe a public official or accept gift. Again, like I said, this I'm not going to get into. It's very evident, but the same point can be brought up here as well, right? As to undercoating. If I undercoat, then again that is a way of accepting a gift, or that is a way of bribing, correct? Or I'm trying to influence the mind of the client by saying that give me the project because I'm going to charge you less. Okay. Advise a client against decision if it is against law. This is something which is very important. uh, Clients are going to be ambitious in what they want, especially at a lower cost. And it is our job to be able to tell them that, or like say they may want to break the rules in terms of the open spaces, they may want to break the rules in terms of the height that they want to go to. Whatever it is our job that we hold our stand and we tell them this cannot be done. Okay. Strive to important public appreciation and understanding of architecture and the duties and responsibilities of architects. Now, yes, it is definitely our job to bring out to the public as to what is the importance of this architecture profession. Correct? We have certain duties, we have certain responsibilities, and how can that profession command respect from the people? Right? As of today, we know that architects are not held in very high regard, correct? For whatever reason it may be. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe the profession has become very easy over a period of time because of because of the information that's available on the internet or whatever it is. But it's a problem where I am not able to command that kind of respect from the people and from the client. So that is something I have to ensure. I am responsible for the fact that my profession is undergoing criticism and my profession is not being treated respectful. That's my job. I have to take care of it. Okay. There's an obligation to the client. This is very clear. You have to serve clients in a timely and competent manner. Applicable laws, undertake services only if qualified, shall not materially alter. See, these are the things which are given in your Council of Architecture website. Okay. But more than this, I think the larger question is really very important, right? What is the obligation I have towards my client is to ensure that the client is also aware of the damage that a project probably could do to the environment. That is what I would put as a top priority as of today, right? Apart from all these minute kind of points that are mentioned here, correct? The first thing I would want to do is encourage my client maybe to use natural materials, encourage my client to build less, encourage my client to have more open spaces, encourage my client to get into rainwater harvesting, all of that. Okay, did you understand? So I'm not going to get into all these are the kind of points that I mentioned here. Yeah. So of course, after this, we'll discuss amongst ourselves also. Now we have an obligation to the profession. This is what I mentioned as to we feel that we are only obligated to the profession, which is not the case. We are obligated even to society as well as our fellow profession, right? Now, what does the obligation to professionals say? Pursue professional activity with honesty and fairness. Do not sign drawings, specs, reports for which you're not responsible. Do not make false statements. Promote dignity and integrity of the profession. But again, when I mean obligation to profession, what exactly I am trying to say is the question which we will debate through our whatever our discussion or the exercise that we are going to do. Okay, obligation to our colleagues, right? So I might have a large office on my own of my own. I might be employing people. I might be part of a larger working environment, and I have to ensure that that working environment is conducive and is comfortable for everyone. Right? Nurture fellow professionals as they progress through all stages of their career. There is this office where some fifth year right has done their internship. They will be presenting their work view sometime during the semester, but there is this one firm in Bangalore, I think, and she mentioned every Friday they have these sessions in the evening where there's some documentary which is shown, there is some reading that is shared, and there's this kind of exchange of information which looks at the development of the individual at the workplace, right? So it is very important that a profession seeks to give back to their colleagues, give back to their profession in such a way. It is really very encouraging to see that. Okay, build one's reputation and give others due credit. Respect professional contributions of colleagues. Leave the firm with permission. This is very important. Do not withhold employees to take designs, drawing reports that are not confidential. Now, especially young professionals do get into this kind of job hopping attitude. They'll work with a firm for 3 or 4 months. They'll quit without telling them, join another firm. Okay, that does come under unethical behavior, right? Even when there are students who do their internships, they apply at a number of places because they've gotten into one place first, they join that firm. Then a couple of months down the line, they get a yes from the other firm which they preferred over this firm. And then they quit the first firm without telling them and they join the next firm. That's definitely not a very good practice. It not only tells about your character, but it also reflects on the institute, because then you will have the professionals or you will have the firm saying that this student is from so and so institution and this is what the student has indulged in. So that's definitely unethical. Okay, so these are the kind of basic points. Now I want you to come out with your idea of ethics, right? We could do a reading first if you want. I'll just show you a couple of these. Okay, there's this article. Can you see the screen? This article published in this journal. Can you see the screen, guys?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so this is talking about it's time for architects to choose ethics over aesthetic. Okay, I uh, I mean I'm not sure how this word fits here, but they're definitely talking about the environmental impact that construction has. Okay, on the planet, correct? And it's sort of stating a number of these issues, right? They're blaming architects for not understanding what climate change is all about, right? That's what they've seen. I've often been told designing a building to last 100 years is the most sustainable thing you can do. Not only this is untrue, it's dangerous nonsense, is what this article is saying. I'm going to share this on chat so you guys can go through it. We can make use of this when we have our discussion next time. Okay. There's another one where a young architect is talking about ethics in architecture. I think you can still see my screen, right? I can see that red border. Okay. Ethics in architecture, ethics and professional code of conduct in architecture or any field has been a concern and debatable topic at the ground level. Professionalism, integrity, and competence are some qualities expected from an architect who pledges to serve the country and the world by preserving its natural environment for future generations and considering his vocation as a job and also as a calling, treating his business and responsibility towards mankind and nature. That's why I said that every time it's not about the project, it's not about building one structure, but it is about looking at the entire planet as a whole. In this, I'm just going to read out these two lines. Frank Gehry, in an interview about ethics, once said that he built his firm on self imposed ethics of not borrowing money, making sure he pays his employees, and not imposing his ideas upon the regional culture of wherever his buildings are based in the world. He also added that this practice is not there anymore within the architecture community as more and more firms are racing to be at the top and increase their number of projects and in turn their revenues. Similarly, Charles Correa at his RIBA conference had commented about how architects are not the first persons to be hired in an architecture project anymore like before. A project management consultant is usually the first one in, and as it has evolved, he is the one who hires the architect on behalf of the client. And further, because of specialized fields popping up within architecture, the architect is merely a part of the project and, unlike earlier, never has control over what is happening throughout the project. So, please understand that the nature of practice has changed completely. When you're talking about a project management consultant taking away, you're also talking about the different complexities in the project. It's only because the projects have become so complex that you feel the need of involving someone who's into management to be able to take care of all those aspects of the project. Right? That means the nature of the project has changed. That whole the whole profession has undergone huge transformation, which is why there are these different modes that are stepping in. Okay. So I don't want to read the whole thing out for you. I'm going to paste the links here. They're interesting articles and I think you should go through it. Now tell me, now let us have a discussion. Tell me what is your idea of ethics. You can please unmute yourself, turn your cameras on and discuss. Shantanu, do you want to add something?
No, I would like to hear what they have to say first.
You have to speak, okay? None of you will find that you've just logged in and disappeared, you won't get any attendance. And did Rishi Raj join in or no finally? I don't see Rishi Raj here. No one is saying anything, Shantanu.
Yeah, I noticed that. Actually, I was even in the previous lecture for a moment. Even there, the engagement is quite low. Huh? I mean, it was just
Class chal raha hai.
Mish and Rutika discussing amongst themselves. So
But you were with this class? No, they were
yeah,
in
no,
the situating
I had
class.
some time before, so
Okay.
I just saw the previous
Oh, okay,
class.
okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Ritika? Yeah, I've got it from Ritika only directly. Come on, guys. नहीं तो बहुत सारे आंदोलन करते रहते हो तुम लोग अभी क्या हो गया? कुछ तो आंदोलन करो अगेंस्ट or something. I'm going to call out name. Risha, do you want to say something? Do you want to say no? Say something. Vidisha. Is Vidisha here?
Yeah, hi. I'm actually
Yeah, hi,
having
Vidisha.
lunch. Yeah.
It's okay. You can talk with food in your mouth. I'm okay with it. Go ahead. What are your views on this whole thing? Is there anywhere that we can actually draw these kind of fine lines saying that this is ethical, this is not ethical, this is the way you should behave, this is, not coming under the code of conduct or whatever it is? What do you feel? And then can you give us an example? What comes to your mind?
So, I think, firstly, ethics is probably a very subjective thing. I mean, what might seem ethical to me might not seem ethical to you. But I believe, having said that, I believe that since this is like a profession, and like since like a lot of countries are involved, and like in so like it's a worldwide thing, so I think there should be like probably some basic rules which are like set up, collectively by everyone, like which everyone agrees to, at least a majority of everyone agrees to. uh but yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know. I think, for me, probably we are in fact learning some bit of ethics while we work with each other in groups. Because, I mean, when we are, for example, when we are doing our design studio right now, we are currently working in groups of 5 or 4. So, I think that, while doing that, we are kind of learning to work in groups and how to respect each other's personal opinions, and take it into account and have discussions. Even if we have disagreements among us, we are trying to like, sort it out in a logical way, sort of. So, I think that is an important ethic, which I think is followed everywhere in this profession, probably because it's a teamwork at the end of the day. Even if it's like one person designing, you have to talk to like the structural engineer or the contractor or whatever. So I think that getting your point across without offending someone, at least severely offending someone, is very important.
Good. I mean, I think absolutely. You're absolutely right. Very valid point and very, I mean, relevant, I think, because you're working in groups like you mentioned. So for you, yes, it's really very relevant. And yes, even in the profession, if I need to be able to coordinate with a number of teams, like if I have to coordinate with the municipal agency as compared to the structural agency, I better be cordial and I better make sure the whole thing works, otherwise the project will never get done, right? So yes, good point. Anyone else? Risha,
Yeah.
you
So,
want to add?
yeah, like correct. Vidisha said it correctly only. Like we in groups have to respect each other, but along with that, um, the I for me, I think ethics are important in terms of like, so if some in some places, if like nowadays many unethical things also happen. So in order to not let that happen, it is our role, I guess, in to step in between, to bridge the gap between the ethical and the unethical, as well as like maintaining relations not only at these at the architects to architects, but with different people involved in the entire process of uh, like um, like
But is this the only thing that you guys can come up with where ethics is concerned? Is my question. Is there anything else that comes to your mind apart from the fact that yes, you need to be able to carry out a project uh, in a healthy way. Okay. Is there anything else that comes to your mind?
we'll have to think about it.
Anyone else? Kayur, do you want to say something?
Actually, many a
Yeah,
time,
Ishan.
yeah,
Yeah.
many a times more than the ethics, it's also about the understanding between the client and the architect. Like
Okay.
especially if the projects are small and then there are only a few people, then I mean, who follows ethics and what is done? It's sometimes really no one keeps a tab on that. Like
Questionable at times, you're saying.
yeah, and
Most of
only
the time.
when the project is like significant and there are multiple people involved and it is more impact, then all these things start getting more important. So you
Any
don't realize it unless you do projects and get at least get involved in such a large
correct,
scale thing.
correct. Any project that comes to your mind, Ishan, that you can mention? It's probably all over the news and things like that, which was illegal or which was, so many floors constructed was illegal or it was carried out in a no development zone or whatever, anything that comes to your mind.
I think I recently read about that Adani coal
Hmm.
project
Hmm.
and the port they are building in Tamil Nadu and how the coast is like getting is bound to get affected by it and villages are
Right,
like inundated by the loss of the shore.
right, right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very good example. Anyone else? Now, I also need you to start thinking about next time's debate. First of all, is you need to divide yourselves into 4 groups. Two will talk next time, two will talk the week after. So, what is it that you guys want to debate on? Do you want to debate on this whole project that Ishan was talking about? Shantanu, any suggestion?
Yeah, no, that is itself a good idea, but I'd see that the role of the architect is kind of
Is
limited
not
in that.
okay. Okay.
So I know maybe we could look at another example. Maybe we can look at
Hmm.
another example which is closer to an architect,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Any
So okay,
suggestion?
what I'll give you an example, like a hypothetical situation. Okay,
Huh.
like
Huh.
imagine, say Ishan, right? Ishan, are you listening to this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So suppose you are given some kind of a project. Okay, it's a building, housing, or something. Okay, and you are also are responsible for getting the permissions and all those things. Yeah, like the municipal approvals and all these things. Now you go to the municipality and they are asking for a bribe. Let us say. I mean, I'm not saying that municipality asks for bribes. Just hypothetically, let us say that they ask for a bribe, okay, in order to approve your whatever project, yeah. And if you don't pay a bribe, then the project will get delayed, and that will cost the client. So now, what is the ethical move? Is the ethical move to not pay the bribe because that would be unethical, and to pass on those costs to your client, or would the ethical move be to put aside your personal values and pay the bribe so the client does not get affected? What do you think? What does anybody think? Actually, anybody can answer this question. I mean, if you have any kind of views on it.
Guys, you need to talk, okay? We can't do this class as a monologue.
Hello.
Hi,
Yeah.
who's this?
Yeah, there's a lot of noise happening.
Yeah.
One sec.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So in such situation, like according, I mean, based on the like values we get, we would surely think of not taking, not I mean, accepting the bribe or I mean, giving the bribe. But like I was discussing this the PP lectures with my parents. Then
Hmm.
one second. So my parents were like, if you're like going by the rules in this world, you will not survive. Like, and that was like I was shocked by listening that it's tough to like be on your ethics in the real world. So that's a really questionable situation where you are at.
Yeah, that is actually the dilemma, no? That is the dilemma.
Yeah,
Actually,
exactly.
dilemma here, Lalit, if you think about it, it lies not in ethics. Ethics are pretty clear about this. Okay,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dilemma lies in the difference between ethics and morals. Okay, that
Hmm.
you are personally against paying or taking of bribes. Yeah, that's like okay, understood. But then you are acting as somebody else's agent, and your ethical responsibility is to provide the best possible service to that person. ठीक है?
Yes.
So does that mean that you kind of so like imagine if you are the client, okay? Imagine you are the architect and the client. Then you would say, okay, you know what? I'll bear the extra cost, but I will not pay the bribe or whatever it is. Then it's a different matter. That's like you deciding for yourself. But here it's you
Yeah.
deciding for someone else, right? So does that mean that you take the moral high ground, but allow the client to take up the costs of that moral high ground, or what do you do? Or do you not take the job at all? ऐसे इसकी नहीं ये मेरे से नहीं होगा मैं करूंगा ही नहीं.
Um, maybe looking at the situation, maybe looking at, I mean, look at the cost of what is costing.
Yeah. See, it could cost if you look at the project ना, even a single day's delay could be lakhs of rupees. ठीक है?
Yeah.
And you might think कि अरे ये तो you might think it like this ना कि अरे ये तो builder है इसका पास तो बहुत पैसा है क्या फर्क पड़ता है. But then the builder is going to pass on the cost to the customers ना who buy the houses. तो ultimately जो उनका जिससे लेना देना भी नहीं है उनको उसका फिर they are going to pay for it. All to sort of fulfill your own moral sense of superiority. I'm not saying it's wrong, but whatever. But that is a dilemma. See, so that's the kind of debate that could happen here. Okay, like there are a lot of these kind of gray areas. Okay, when you talk about ethics, that tend to spark these sorts of debates. Yeah. To give you another example, let us say that you are given a certain project, you are an architect, okay, you are given a certain project that you don't necessarily agree with yourself, okay. The client wants to build XYZ thing somewhere in XYZ location. You yourself don't feel like that would probably be a good place to build that particular project. Then you have some moral opposition to that. So what do? Do you convince the client not to build? Do you convince the clients to build something else you're not able to convince? Do you leave the project? If you keep leaving projects, then how will you survive? These are kind of questions that often come, no? And so these are the kind of ethical. See, again, and we're talking here about things in a situation wherein it's almost as if you are in a position to reject projects because you feel like that they don't particularly fit your moral compass. But then there are a lot of situations wherein you simply don't have that option, right? Like imagine having a staff to pay, and you have this project and you need the project to pay your staff their monthly salaries. So what does that happen? What happens then? Do you reject the project and then say to your staff that okay, I'm not going to pay you for the next month because I'm not going to take this project? I mean, do you make that decision on behalf of your staff? What is the solution there? Yeah. So when Mamta said that, what do you want to debate? Okay, see, these are the debates. Okay, and they happen every day. Every architect basically struggles with these kind of questions. All right, not everyone, I would say, but many of them. Anybody who kind of thinks about it for more than a minute will basically kind of come up with these questions, and they will struggle with it. Okay, so yeah. So anybody else? Do you have any thoughts about this? Okay, Mamta, I think they need some time to think.
Yeah, looks like. But then, okay. But how will they prepare for next time then?
Yeah. So here's what I propose that we do. Okay,
Okay.
guys, listen up. So here's what I propose that we do. Just go with let's do what let's forget your own like when you're doing a debate, okay, any debate, okay. In many debates it doesn't really matter what your personal opinions are. Okay, you are given a proposition. okay, and you are supposed to defend that proposition in the best way possible. Okay, it doesn't matter if you personally believe in it or not, but that's like the task that you're given. And so what that does is that it allows people to look at things from different perspectives. Yeah. So what I feel is what we should do is we should take some kind of a contentious project, okay, and then let's do a pro and let's do a pro and one like for and against kind of a situation. Yeah, Mamta, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, and from the point of view of an architect, okay, I'm not talking about like the other kind of peripheral things about it, but what would that, like, how would that affect your view of the project, and from the perspective of the professional code of conduct, and from the perspective of the professional ethics. So does it kind of go against the professional ethics? Is it unethical, or is it not unethical, or whatever it is? Yeah. So and then definitely we can talk about that, and we can debate that. Yeah. So can you give me an instance of a contentious project where an architect is involved? I mean, in a significant role. What about Central Vista, Mamta?
Do you want to do Central Vista, Shantanu? Hasn't it been discussed so many times?
It has
I
been
was
discussed.
thinking of doing an
We haven't
SRA
really
project.
debated it like we haven't
Hmm.
really debated from a for and against kind of a perspective.
Okay,
Like
ठीक है,
we've been making
चलेगा.
arguments for and arguments
Yeah,
against, like
चलेगा,
well thought out
चलेगा.
and studied arguments.
Okay, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Yes. Somebody else was saying something.
Yeah, no, I was saying SRA might also be interesting because we've
Yeah.
had a site, we've had an SRA site in second year.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. In fact, that is a very good idea. Like just the idea of doing an SRA project, what does that, in what way does that kind of go for or against professional ethics? It's a very good idea. Yeah, good idea, Madhura. So let's do that one, right? SRA project.
Yes, that's what I think makes sense. Like even current scenario, right? So closer to home type.
Yeah, exactly. Or we could
And
look at. Sorry, Madhura, go ahead. Yeah.
no, nothing. Continue.
Yeah. No, so I was saying that there's also this new construction going on in Royal Palm in RA. Like they are building some new villas and whatnot. And considering everything, what kind of a debate might happen there. That is another kind of a. So there is questions about the environment. There's questions of their political questions. There are questions about housing. So all of these things also are there, and in a way the architect's role is limited in terms of just designing the structures. But then there is also the larger kind of question, because if you look at the code of conduct, they talk about society and country, society and nation and profession, and anything we do should not kind of hurt that, and all these kind of things. So again, that again really asks the question, whether or not the architect's role can really be defined as simply a provider of service, or is there something more, as the code of conduct seems to and to what extent does that affect your decision regarding the projects that you do. So yeah, so there that's so definitely maybe we could do it in terms of these themes, like there is an environmental theme, there is a theme of like moral issues, there's the theme of political issues, there's the theme of social issues, etc. And then the kind of debates that come out of that. So maybe we could maybe make a list of those kind of things, and then do a debate based on that. What do you think, Mamta?
Yeah, I think sounds good, Shantanu. But then they have to let us know about these groups and the speakers and everything for
Yeah.
next time. Yeah?
Yeah.
Sometime during the week they can send that across to us.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do? You have 3 speakers or 2 speakers from each team for and against, and
Yeah, I think three
how do
would
you
be
want to?
more
Three.
enough. Like one with the
Yeah.
opening statements, then the rebuttals and closing
Yeah.
statements. So
Okay.
three should be enough.
Okay. Okay. Is that
Like
okay, guys?
three per team. Yeah.
So I'm
Is
just
that fine? Yeah.
is it one topic that we're picking up, and all these groups are being divided into for and against, and then for of like 5 different groups and against of different groups? Is that how it goes?
Yeah. So no, what happens is, so suppose you have three and three, right? So that's one debate, okay? And you're giving one, and one is speaking for, and one is speaking against, right? So that one group of three is speaking for, one group of three is speaking against. And so like I said, the one person from each group makes opening statements. The second group does then the second person from each group does rebuttals. That is, like specific points that you go kind of counter about the other person's argument or the other team's argument. And the third person from each group does the closing. So basically it's like a, so basically that's a standard debate kind of a format that happens. So yeah, that is basically how it's going to go.
Okay, so every two groups probably have one topic for and against, and
Yeah,
then
think of it like six people
so
debating one topic.
we will have to have that many topics, no? Then
Yeah, so there, so how many of you are there? I think there are, I think this class is how many? 60, 80, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So 80 or 81, I think it is something like that. So if you divide them, you divide yourself by six. Okay.
Okay.
Then how much is that? That's 10 and 12, I think. 12 or 13 different groups will get formed. So I think, yeah, I think that should be okay.
Okay, okay. So 12 or around 12
Or
to
what do we have? What if we have some members, like when you just throw open the floor for discussion, you have some of them just debating back and forth amongst those two
Yeah.
teams.
I mean,
So even if you have three speakers, yeah,
yeah,
the
no,
team
no.
is
What I'm saying
actually
is
larger.
after the and everything, we could have like an open floor kind of a forum kind of a thing, wherein people can ask questions to specific people or to the whole panel.
Correct. Right.
Yeah. So we are gonna have like 13 panels of 6 people each with the teams of two or teams of three. Sorry, two teams of three, and each debate will be about a particular topic. So yeah.
We were just wondering, can we have a larger group instead of 6, maybe 8 or
Yeah,
10?
yeah. I think we should have a larger
I think
group.
it's
Yeah.
yeah,
We
yeah.
have a
Let's do
larger
it.
group,
Yeah, let's do
and
it.
then three of you speak, and then the rest of you all can argue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Like a group of 10 can work. We can divide ourselves in like.
बढ़ते जा रहा है ये. Okay. Mamta, what do you think? Groups of like 5 per team?
No, I think there should be larger groups, Sandru. Like, say, if amongst a group of, say, whatever she's saying, like 6 or 8, three of them speak. The rest of them are all part of that group as yet. And when you throw open the discussion, then all of them are allowed to sort of counter each other that way.
Okay. Fine.
Did you get what I'm trying to say?
Okay, so basically the groups of 10 you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that makes it then four topics, right? 4 project topics. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
20 ka group.
Yeah.
20 ka ek
Correct,
panel bana.
correct.
Right.
Correct,
So
correct,
actually speaking, like some of them like not some of them might speak, but the others might help in the research. So
right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, any questions? Hello, any questions?
No, no.